Hello and welcome to the Extra Lives Matter podcast. My name is Lawless Les, and joining me today are Lord_Darktheory.
What's up, y'all?
And Nerdy_Bernie.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I'm never going to stop winding him up about that.
I'm still gonna. I still can't always. Every time he does this, I still think of the time he muted himself on the very first podcast. I can't help it.
Because what? I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're a meme now, son. You're our first meme. Embrace it.
Ta-da! Real life meme.
Before we get into the topic of cancel culture, I just want to publish 2 redactions. Very important that we do so. We don't always get things right. We are not a news source. Do not treat us as a fucking news source. Be sensible. First one. In the last episode, I made a statement in which I said that furry communities always become pedophiles or animal abusers. I was overgeneralizing. That's not the stance that I actually mean. I still wouldn't leave any of them alone with my puppy or my hypothetical child. The other one is that in our first episode, I made the comment, or we assumed that Abby from The Last of Us 2 was trans. It turns out she's not trans. She's just fucking ugly. While we're talking about Last of Us 2, gentlemen, have you guys seen the latest on Metacritic with the restriction that Neil Cuckman has actually managed to get in place? So now we have to wait a full, I think it's 36 hours after a game comes out before we can add our comments or read other users' reviews of a product. How do you guys feel about this?
I think, to be clear, it's just the first 36 hours of release, or do you have to somehow verify the amount of time you've played?
Oh, it's just a 36-hour restriction, so you're still able to go in and brigade well after that 36 hours is complete. It wouldn't be too difficult if they knew how to code to have people link their accounts from PlayStation or Xbox or Steam and be able to verify certain achievements have been met or certain playtime has been met. But they don't want to do that because that's going to cost money.
Yeah. I think 36 hours is a bit long. If they're going to do it at all, it should be based off the length of the games. Because if the game's like 17 hours and you got to wait 36 hours to post a review, that's kind of sucks. So it should be based off of like maybe, if you've got a 17-hour game, maybe you can post a review after 6 hours or something like that. But I get the idea behind it because they want to make sure people have played the game. But I've said this before. They should just add in, just like you were saying, add in a link to the account so that next to the review, it's like, at the time of writing this review, they played this game for X amount of hours.
See, for me, the problem I have with it is that, let's say I'm playing a multiplayer fighting game, Mortal Kombat, all right? I could play that for a couple hours and already give a review on it, whether I like or hate it. And let's say I'm in the heat of really hating a game, cough, Last of Us 2, and really want to throw a Metacritic out, which I did. I did it in the heat of really hating the game, So I think it's a way to curve people's hate and try to make more of a positive review because they know that the people that spend time on the game are the ones that are going to give it a good review, not the ones that actually hated it for a specific reason and don't want their voice to be heard.
That's fair.
That's my opinion on that.
Like I say, it could be fixed if they just let you write a review at any time and just put, this is how long they played next to it.
Absolutely. Or absolutely. I'll agree with that one too.
I think it'd be easy to add verification to see that people have actually at least purchased the game.
But no, they won't.
The idea with this was more to cut out people brigading, jumping onto games before they've had a chance to play them. This is a publisher that we don't like, therefore we're going to jump on this. There's been some controversy here, therefore we're going to jump on this. And to be honest, that whole culture can straight up fuck off. I'm not involved with that kind of thing. I've always thought that that's just ridiculous. Judge the art on the basis of the art. However, adding a 36-hour wait limit is kind of a bit arbitrary. For me personally, and I think this is going to apply to a lot of you guys listening as well, I do not give the first fuck about what official reviews say. We've all become a little bit cynical to them through the scandals that keep coming out, including scandals surrounding people being paid to positively review The Last of Us 2, which we can't verify, but there's been quite a lot of speculation on that front. I would rather hear what my fellow gamers have to say. And even well-regarded people in the industry, Jim Sterling, have been quick to deride the value of the independent man giving their uneducated take. Sorry, those weren't his exact words. But I think that's bollocks. At the end of the day, we as a gaming community, we all have different tastes, but what the by and large of it is, it doesn't matter if everybody is going to vote a game 1 or 10. You're looking for the mean average there. If a game has got a 6 on Metacritic, that meant that more people voted at 10 than voted at 1. If you're smart, you read a couple of the positive reviews, a couple of the moderate reviews, and a couple of the negative reviews. If you go into a game and you see that like 1,000 people have rated it on Metacritic and it's a 9.9, you can have a pretty good idea that most people like this game.
That goes not just for games, but for any product, like even on Amazon or any website that you prefer to buy from. Reviews generally go that way.
You know, I do have one other thing that we've overlooked too. What about the people that are watching the streams of people trying to review it? Don't they get the right to review that footage as well? Because they're technically watching it. Why shouldn't they be allowed to make a review? So restricting them for 36 hours too kind of hurts them too, right? So even if we were to add that little, hey, they got to have like X amount of hours of playtime, that doesn't really work sometimes because a lot of people watch
know how
it.
I feel about that one, to be honest. I try and think about it like this, right? So if I was watching somebody on YouTube make a summary of some music that I'd written, rather than actually experience that music organically the way that it was intended through my own set of headphones without other stimuli and stuff like that, I wouldn't say as the creator of that content that user has had the same experience as someone playing the game firsthand. Maybe that's just a generation thing. If you're watching a streamer, there's a disconnect between you and the actual game, particularly in things like horror games. There's a real visceral feeling to playing a good horror game. I'm a bit of a pussy, so I don't play a lot of horror games, I'll be completely honest. But there's a difference in actually playing Amnesia and, say, watching one of PewDiePie's ancient videos. There we go, I fucking shilled him again in another episode. Pat me on the back. I don't think that the reviews of someone who watched a streamer play the game are as valid as someone who has actually experienced that game firsthand. You're giving a second-hand review of something that you've observed but you haven't experienced.
I don't know. Maybe there should be a secondary type of review because people watch TV all the time and we review those every day. So why couldn't the people watching it make a review? Especially for a game like Last of Us 2, which is pretty much all movie. Let's be real. It's almost all movie, right? So there wasn't too much interaction in the game in the first place. So why couldn't that person that watched me review it, cough, Lawless, cough, be able to make a review? Just saying.
The difference is that games, by their nature, are an interactive media. Now, there are some like Last of Us, or even really great game, Detroit Become Human. Yeah, they're interactive, but you can experience the game by watching it just as well as if you were playing it.
I did with Ghost of Sushi, whatever it's called, Ghost of Sushi with you, NerdyBernie.
I don't think you did. You'd really need to experience that combat first.
But I get you. But watching the story and watching a lot of the gameplay did give me a basic idea of what I would expect when I do play it, if I did want to play it.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate that Lord Darktheory just called it Ghost of Sushi? Now,
to be fair,
someone to make me
there's the T in front.
Ghost of fucking Sushi. I want art of this. That's just brilliant. You're a horribly racist individual, and we should make this up. We should probably.
Guys, spelled that way. Guys, to be fair, it's spelled that way. I wasn't being racist. It's spelled that way. I'm just saying it's sushi.
But to be fair,
okay,
you do
whatever.
make a lot of human sushi in the game. So,
guys, hashtag cancel Darktheory. Should we move on to the main topic of tonight?
Let's move on before I get banned on Twitch like everyone else for accidentally saying something stupid. Let's go. I was trying to be funny, not racist. I promise. Anyways.
It was a nice little segue. What we really wanted to talk about today was the whole concept of cancel culture, which has reared its ugly head again. It's quite funny because now we're seeing some big-name celebs jump on board with the comments about cancel culture being perhaps a little bit overzealous today, as if it wasn't overzealous 15 years ago. Cancel culture, everyone's familiar with cancel culture, is Zen and the art of finding something to be offended by. And if you can't find anything in recent history, just go into the Twitter DMs, just go into the Twitter history and find that one post or that one thing that's out of place in a piece of old media, and then find somebody who might take offense to it. So I think it should come as no surprise that over here on the Extra Lives Matter podcast, especially with a title as pseudo-edgy as ours, we're not really big fans of cancel culture, and we never have been.
See, here's the thing about cancel culture. I do think people should speak their mind, but I don't think people should be losing their jobs and losing their livelihood over something that their opinion about. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of issues going on with cancel culture these days. There's so many different ways it's going. I'm going to let Lawless start it off with, I think he was talking about, who was it? Harry Potter, was it?
Oh, yes. Miss Joanne Kathleen Rowling. One of my favorite people. Where do I start with this one? J.K. Rowling has made quite a reputation for herself on Twitter, my favorite website, where she likes to voice her opinions being what usually drams up a lot of support from the kind of people that make a lot of noise on Twitter. And it's usually good for a lot of publicity. I think perhaps my favorite example of when she got caught for this, because one of the things that I've noticed is she likes to talk the talk when it comes to supporting certain communities like the LGBT, but she doesn't walk the walk. She was caught most recently with the release of the last Harry Potter Grindelwald film. I can't remember what it was called because it was awful and I didn't watch it. In the past, to fit in with a radically active Twitter crowd, she made comments about Dumbledore and Grindelwald having a very active sexual relationship. However, if you watch the film, which I didn't, but we're speculating here, there was not a whiff of chemistry between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. No overt sexual tension, not even anything subtle.
I did
Because if
watch
she
the
did-
film, and that is true. So I can confirm.
If she did, she wouldn't be able to sell it in China because they wouldn't have it. So she's saying one thing to bait the community, and then she's doing something else in the film. She's already been caught out, and she was cancelled over that. And she's recently been cancelled as well because she's what we call a TERF, trans-exclusive radical feminist. She's all about feminism, but she still believes that men are men, women are women, and trans women are not women. Whether or not she'll turn around and say, actually, you're men is different, but she's talking about biological sex, not gender. I could go into a huge amount of detail and be boring and talk politics, but because there are two camps within feminism and both of them seem to disagree as often as possible on this, she's been cancelled for saying that she doesn't believe that trans women are like women in every single aspect of everything ever. And now, would you believe it? A bunch of celebrities have come out in support of saying cancel culture isn't so great anymore, is it?
Yeah, I mean, they even, I can't remember the circumstances, but they even were canceling Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon lost his job at Viacom, which is kind of funny because Viacom owns Nickelodeon, so Nick just fired Nick.
Well,
which
you say
is kind of
funny,
funny
but
to me.
I kind of don't like Nick Cannon, so I was kind of hoping he would get fired. I wish they didn't back down. I don't like that guy. But I won't talk about his racist remarks that he said over the past couple of years. Let's move on. Called cancel culture.
So confirmed, Lord Darktheory is for cancel culture if it's something he
No,
agrees,
I
he
said,
agrees to cancel.
I said it's good to speak someone's mind. That's what I said, but it doesn't necessarily he should get fired for it. But I just don't like him, so I didn't mind. I don't like this. I don't like what he stands for. He's totally fake. He's silver spoon fed. He's been born with millions of dollars before he was even famous, and he has the right to talk like he's a hood rat. Get out of here. You ain't no Wild and Out. That's all I'm gonna say.
to be honest, there's been nothing good on Nickelodeon since they took all the hot girls off of it.
I don't know that one. Oh God, that's gonna sound mean, but I cannot remember her name. The one big girl from SNL. What was that show?
I have no idea.
Where it was like their version of Saturday Night Live. She was hilarious, but she wasn't very pretty.
We're probably going to cut this section because that's way too sexist.
Yes. I started realizing what I'm saying. I'm like, let me move on. Again, guys, I'm trying to be the funny guy.
Right,
I don't always work.
Guys.
I don't always work. All right. So back on cancel culture. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're talking about this. People being cancelled for any tiny thing that doesn't agree with the most safe opinion possible these days is a cancelable offense.
You know what? I kind of went through something in one of my streams. Perhaps you guys saw it. I ended up shooting a Black Lives Matter march. One thing I've kind of noticed while shooting that is how people want to promote cancel culture, but at the same time, only if it matters to them. When I started posting some of the videos, people were so offended that the Trumpsters out there were going, Trump, Trump, when it's supposed to be about Black Lives Matter. Well, if they're able to protest, shouldn't the Trumpsters be able to protest? My opinion, I think yes, right? So why should one cancel culture be acceptable and another one not? Just because it's based on your opinion? That's why I think cancel culture is stupid. Because they're trying to it doesn't make sense at all.
As a Brit, I have no opinion at all on American politics. However, the thing that I found most funny about this was in the thumbnail of your Facebook video, it had the Trump 2020.
Mind you, that was Facebook choosing that image. I was not able to choose that image. I find it kind of funny. I ain't gonna lie.
I find it kind of sad.
But I'll tell you right now, it really opened up my eyes how people hated the fact that there was some people, it was crazy. The Trumpsters like, I hate BLM. And then there's the BLM that's like, I hate the Trumpsters. Well, you guys just cancel each other out because you guys are
each other out.
Sorry.
May or may not be the opinions of everybody on the podcast.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. It's dumb because they both think they're wrong and they're both doing the exact same thing. And the whole thing is just stupid because there's so much cancel culture that they're doing cancel culture against each other constantly. It's kind of bad. It's stupid. We have no Dr. Disrespect. Where the hell is Ninja? And what the heck happened to Shroud, people? Cancel culture. I'm just saying.
I mean, you can't really create content on the internet without somebody being upset or offended about it. I'm sure if our podcast was, became widely distributed all of a sudden to billions or even millions of people, but at the same time, we're at the point now, and this is kind of what I want to talk about, certain types of cancel culture actually do more to benefit the person being canceled.
This is really true. Really true. Quite often you're cancelled, you get a whole bunch of hate, you maybe even get death threats. If a doxer out there, you might get swatted, which, as we know, has led to fatalities in the past. If your docs aren't out there, you might get doxed because people have got nothing better to do. But then people bounce back and they actually have more followers, more subs than they've had before.
Yeah, there's a lady that was on Twitch, literally, basically, ordering her audience. If you're not gonna donate, get the fuck out of my stream.
Wasn't that the one that Destiny was simping
kind
for?
Of thing. And
the
people rallied together to cancel this chick.
Blowbacks, who is not an intellectual, say the fuck, at least.
Yeah, and this lady, people rallied together to cancel her too, and after about 2 weeks or so, she ended up well past her sub goal of 20,000, which is a ridiculous sub goal for the viewer count she had at the time.
Yeah, because people show their support to people who are going through hardship, so people can bounce back. It's important to note that not always, and there's a fringe case that, despite the fact that it's not a large case, I really want to talk about now because I want to bring as much attention to this as possible, and that is the case of Zaptai, who to this day is still not only run off the internet, but also hounded in real life over being cancelled by someone who's supposed to be one of his friends, I Am Alex, one of the bigger commentary YouTubers, who now is exposed as the massive scumbag that he was. I met Alex. My instant opinion of Alex was he was a prick in the 30 seconds that I met him in real life. I'm a nobody. He treated me like a nobody without so much as a condescending gaze. But essentially, he was a guy in a podcast that was on the up and up. It was ready to take on the big podcasts at the time, things like Baited. And this guy spread rumors about him that he was a pedophile and that he was a psychopath. He was dating a young girl at the time who was within 2 years, maybe 3 at most of his age. And he was going through some mental issues and might have at one stage said, "Oh, no, I think I'm a psychopath," something like that. There's a lot more nuance than that. There's a guy called Nicholas Diorio who did an amazing video putting all of the pieces together. But there was basically a hate campaign to drive Zaptai off of the Hot Wet Soup podcast and also off the internet in general. The reason I bring this up is because to this day, despite the fact that the serious allegations have been dismissed, he's still an arsehole, by the way. He's just not a paedophilic arsehole and not a psychopathic arsehole. As soon as people find out where he is in real life, he's working at a burger joint, he's trying to, stack shelves or something like that, people still brigade the place that he's working to get him fired and try and get him swatted. To this day, and this is several years on, cancel culture can be fucking dangerous. Swattings cost lives. Not only that, if they don't cost a life, it's a lot of wasting police time, especially because, hey, we want to cut the resources of police at the moment, not just in the States, but in the UK as well.
Well, and on top of it, too, and this is a big if because, like you say, the funding is being cut. If they find out who it was that called the cops wrongfully, that person is going to end up in jail, in prison, because it is a federal crime to wrongfully request police help for something that serious.
Yeah, there was a case where some kid swatted a streamer and he did actually die. The kid ended up on Drama Alert and Keem got him to admit to it, and the kid is now looking at, I think, 20 years minimum. So fucking hats off to that. Absolutely got what you deserved, you scumbag.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually be held liable as it's like some form of homicide that you can be held liable if the person is.
It is. You're sending basically an armed hit squad against somebody. It's calling in a hit.
Yeah.
The police don't handle the situation perfectly, and mistakes do happen, and might not even be a mistake. If you look like you're going for something, at the moment they have the right to defend themselves if they feel like they're threatened. It's just absolutely fucked. Let's move on a little bit from such negative topics. Cancel culture bullshit is just a way of censoring wrongthink. If you don't think the right thing, we will punish you by hounding you with mobs and by defunding you, by taking down the things that you produce and therefore hurting your income. And it doesn't have to be an individual. You see the number of shows in the last couple of months that have been taken down, removed from Netflix, removed from iTunes and any other streaming platform of note.
Even Disney movies, animated movies from back in the day, now come with a warning. I don't know if you heard about that, but Disney Plus has added a warning to most of their Disney movies for inappropriate situations.
I don't know if I'm against the idea of putting warnings in and saying, hey, this content contains this. I wouldn't say make them overt warnings. And I tend to be against the idea of trigger warnings, stuff like that. But to promote the idea of making people aware of what the content is, that's fine. I don't think that you should lie to your customers or have things in there that may cause offense. I do, however, think that offense is something that is taken, not given. And they're actually taking the piss at the moment, not the people themselves, but people pushing the agendas of what you can have and what you can't have, in how sensitive they think the average person is.
There's a few that they won't put on the platform at all. They're redoing a ride at Disneyland because it's offensive, even though you can't even tell the movie it's based off of unless you really shouldn't care at all. I kind of think that maybe, and this has always bothered me, movies should maybe kind of be rated the same like in not the same way as video games, but like how you know how video games will say rated M for mature, and this is why it's rated M. Movies don't do that. They're just like rated R, and they won't tell you why it's rated R. They'll just tell you that it's rated R, or rated PG, and they won't tell you why they rated it PG. And I
They
kind
of do. If you look at the label, it does tell you why. It's usually something. They'll say it really small. It's very simple, but they do. They'll say it's for nudity.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. It's really small. It needs to be more like this is what makes. And that I think that would be less invasive of the content saying, oh, this is a product of its time. It's like, no, you just put it as an extra line on the rating thing.
You hit the nail on the head there. Can we talk about products of a different time for a second? Because this really fucks me off. If there's anything that fucks me off, it's when they say, oh, it was a different time. Was it a better time?
I'm 40 years old, and I'll say yes.
I'm getting a bit long in the tooth as well now. You know, I'm going to be 30. I'm going to be 30 soon, guys. 2 months.
Listen, when I was a kid, I had a bazooka squirt gun that looked like a bazooka, and I had friends that had Uzis and AK-47s, and guess what? No cop shot us. Period. It's stupid. Like, you can't even play cops and robbers without it being offensive. Cowboys and Indians. What? Come on. It's dumb. It's dumb. No wonder we're so antisocial and have nothing to complain, because we don't even go out and have fun anymore with anybody. We just bitch. That's all we do. And that's where it comes from.
I want to get serious for a moment, and I want to ask a really important question to everybody who's listening. White people who are listening, when was the last time that you went a full day without considering if something that you were saying could be misconstrued as racist or as sexist or as offensive to somebody? And I want to say the similar question. Anybody of color, anybody who is trans, anybody who is from a minority group, when was the last time you went 24 hours without either considering the same, wondering if what somebody else said to you was meant to be offensive? This isn't the kind of thing, in my opinion, I could be wrong, this isn't the kind of thing that we thought of before this. Beforehand, people said things, it was either direct, people took offense, people didn't. By and large, I never remember a point in time where every single day people were concerned what they said and what other people were saying as to how it affected them.
Yep.
That is the real demon that is cancel culture.
When all I could say, whenever I say something, I have to rethink and say, did I say something that was inappropriate? That's almost every sentence these days, man. It's horrible. It's horrible.
I mean, that's because you're a horrible, offensive cunt.
No, that's just because, well, maybe, but still. No, but seriously though, like, you know, I'm sure people every now and then hear how me and my wife joke around. So many people could get so offended by how we joke around, and it's so dumb because we're having fun. F you. I don't care if it offends you. I'm having fun with my wife. So if I say, woman, go do the dishes, I'm not saying it because I'm telling her to go do the dishes. I'm just giving her a hard time, and she knows it. It's a joke, you know? So don't take offense to it. But go ahead.
I was watching a streamer the other day on YouTube, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's just, you know, having fun, playing with his friend on a game. Then they're both streamers, and they've been friends for a few years now. And they're just like kind of taking the piss out of each other, you know? And, you know, it's all in good fun. It's banter. But the chat is going crazy like, man, you guys are so rude to each other. Why are you guys so rude? And to be fair, some of it might have been trolling, but there was definitely a few people in the chat that thought it was legit. Like they hated each other.
It's like people don't know how male bonding works anymore. Sorry, that's toxic masculinity. We can't talk about that either.
True. I'll agree with that comment 100%.
It's like men tend to put each other down. Some more than others. I mean, when you can't roughhouse in person, you kind of have to do verbal roughhousing, you know?
It's part of growing up, man.
For me, I've always said this, and I'm going to get this across in a podcast now so that people can berate me for this later. For me, the point where this all started going wrong was where they suddenly turned around and said that digital harassment, cyberbullying existed. As soon as we took away from the fact, like the old-fashioned view, and I agree, in this current society where your presence on social media is all-encompassing and everybody's addicted to social media, I'm fucking crazy addicted to Discord. It's easier said than done to just switch off the PC. But when we changed our mindset from the idea of what somebody said to me as just words, even in real life, words in real life, words over the internet, is as damaging as physical actions. When we allowed that to become something that we agreed with as part of our culture, then the goalpost for what is considered bullying, what is considered offensive, what's considered hate speech, what's considered just uncouth in general, has just never been defined. Over time, it's just evolved and evolved and evolved. And that's led to this state where even Little Britain, which was only produced, I think maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, the two guys behind that, Matt Lucas and David Walliams, they turned around and said, we'd never have done this today. The characters, they weren't meant to be offensive, but we agree it was a different time. It was a different time, but it was a time where you could make these jokes with people who were of these groups without worrying that you're offending them.
Just think about this. When was the last time you saw Chris Rock go live?
I've never watched Chris Rock.
Think about why he's no longer live.
For me to watch him.
Ouch.
That was a joke.
But seriously, though, he's a perfect example, though. Just because he was a racist comic, I thought it was funny. People thought it was funny back in the 90s, even early millennia. People thought it was hilarious. But now, I guarantee you, if he did some of the stuff he did back then now, woo, you can't do it.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to make a relatively bold statement. Going off the bullying thing, first of all, I'm going to say we are not downplaying the mental issues or anything that can arise from bullying in any form. We're talking about like friendly banter. But I'm also going to go out and I'm going to make this bold statement and say that cancel culture in and of itself is a form of bullying.
100%.
You are 100%. Targeting a specific person and just making their life hell.
Yeah, this is a crucial point. There is a huge difference between one person calling you a smeghead on Facebook when you're at school and half the world brigading you because somebody said you did something that was offensive. There's a huge difference. And I understand even way back when, even back in like 2005, there was a difference when social media became a thing. You suddenly had hundreds of people, thousands of people saying, look at this kid, doesn't he look like a dickhead or something like that. That is damaging. I'm not saying it's not. But instead of equipping people to deal with it and brushing this stuff off and discouraging people from doing this by making them look like the twats, we just went to a stage where if you don't toe the line of what is politically acceptable, that mob is going to turn on you. You're still getting herd mentality bullying people. It's just for different reasons now. And the reasons that it's for are shutting down conversations rather than letting them. And that's what I think is really sad. And not just conversations. Comedy is an absolutely dead art. As someone who used to do stand-up, like my stuff was never racially motivated. It was mostly self-deprecating. It's like punk comedy and stuff like that. It was mostly self-deprecation. I still wouldn't get away with it today. Somebody would call me out for several things on that.
All right. The reason why cancel culture is so bad is because they're so busy trying to voice their opinion that they forget to listen to another person's opinion. And that in itself is a huge problem. You got to see both sides sometimes to really fully understand what's going on with a lot of these things. You know what I mean? And a lot of the cancel culture can be construed to just really twisted ideas and just go ahead and just ho-hum in through it without even thinking about someone else's opinion, what's going to happen in other situations, what it's going to do down the line. Look at Twitch right now. I hate to say it, but now look at it. Who the hell do you guys have to watch but me and NerdyBernie now?
You still
Whose fault
found
is
a way
that?
to fucking
Whose fault is that? I'm just saying.
Yourself in the middle of an episode. I don't know what to do. I fucking hate you guys. That's it. I quit. No.
So if all you see is me until I get banned, because I know I'll get banned much quicker than Nerdy. I have a temper. Then, who you all gonna watch? Oh boy,
Twitch.tv
have fun with
/NerdyBernie.
Barney. Oh no, he's offensive now because I don't know. He's not social distancing.
It's offensive to purple people. Yeah, it's offensive to purple people. Also, you can disagree with something, or you can say that you don't enjoy it without calling for it to be destroyed, because that's what cancel culture effectively is. You're trying to destroy someone. You can turn around and say, I don't like watching my favorite comedy of all time, Allo Allo. I don't like watching Allo Allo because all of the characters are stereotypes. By today's standards, Allo Allo is highly racist, but it's fucking brilliant. Go and watch it. You can turn around and say, I don't enjoy this show. I think that the show is very dated and very racist, blah, 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 without turning around and saying, I think we make this unavailable. To say it should be taken down for various platforms, that destroys a form of art. And I will say that it's art. All TV is, well, not all TV, all shows, whether they're good shows, bad shows, that are entertainment mediums are a performance art. Just don't ask me to accept Hollyoaks as a fucking performance art, because that's just shit tier TV.
I mean, yeah, and on top of that too, you're allowed to not like a form of media on any grounds, really. You're allowed to not like it just because you don't like it. Just don't watch it. Don't call for it to be removed, because that's like a slippery slope. Eventually, it'll get to the point where nobody can do a period piece because they're incredibly racist, incredibly sexist in that time period.
It's already going that route.
In that time period. So, like, let's say you wanted to do a period piece on the American Civil War. They're gonna say the N-word. That's what they did in the American Civil War. It's historically accurate. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where they're not going to be able to be as historically accurate because it's too racist.
They've already started doing that, and it's already kind of going away. Since the early millennia, you can watch a lot of the Western movies these days. First off, let's be realistic. Back in those days, women had no power, all right? And let's be real, I'm not being racist, but slavery was a big thing. You watching a movie nowadays that's about cowboys and Indians, somehow all of a sudden the hero's going to be a woman and their sidekick's going to be a black man. Trust me, that doesn't happen back then. Historically, a lot of our stuff is being broken because of stuff like that. You know, the Django's not real, guys. I'm sorry. Good movie, just not real.
I just want to have like a closing point on the idea of cancel culture and the idea of not calling for things to be destroyed. I definitely think that you can publicly say, and you can have people agree with you sort of saying, more so for properties than individuals, because being that critical of individuals can have psychological effects, and I'm not for that, whether they're people I agree with or not. But I definitely think that you have a right to turn around and say, I did not enjoy this show. I think that this show was this. But I think it ends at saying, I did not enjoy this show. I could not recommend this show. And not saying the show is damaging. This show needs to be taken down.
Yeah.
Whether it's something modern or something later. You can turn around and say, I don't approve of this. I don't like this. But to encourage other people and to encourage companies to take it down, to defund it, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a YouTuber, whether it's just some kid who made some stupid ass comment on fucking Twitter, it should end I don't agree with that. You're entitled to not agree with that. Power
now,
to you.
To go along with that, I will say that as long as it is targeting the right audience, like for example, like I don't have any kids, but if I did, I wouldn't want, say, my 10-year-old watching some incredibly gory with a whole bunch of nudity in it. And that's fair. I can do that as a parent, but I need to know that kind of stuff is in there. And if the game or the show or the movie or whatever is rated for those audiences, say like a game rated E for everyone, but it's got all this stuff in it that I don't want in there, that I don't want my kid exposed to, parents nowadays are just not as observant. They don't always research everything their child gets into.
You've accidentally pulled this round to a really good point, which is that while none of us here are big fans of The Last of Us, and we have all criticized, we did the whole show criticizing The Last of Us, not a single one of us would campaign to get it taken down.
Nope.
No. Whether I liked it or not, absolutely hated it, find it offensive myself, spit on the one character I liked. F you!
I mean, on top of that too, you can get on Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes or whatever and
36 hours later.
and write a review about a game or a show and say this game or this movie or this show was utter shit. I do not recommend it. But then when you go into it and go that one step further and say nobody buy this game because of this, and this, it's like, no, I don't recommend you buy this game, but if you do and you like it, I don't hate you for it.
Any closing statements, lads?
I will say one thing. I would hate your guts if I saw you with the dragon skins in Valorant. The end.
That's another topic we can bring up another time.
Before we got on the podcast, these two were playing Valorant. I've still yet to play Valorant. I should get around to that. And Darktheory got massively tilted at some kid who had the dragon skins. It was so funny just being in the fucking voice chat, just listening to how much this guy fucking raged at probably a 12-year-old.
That's something we can talk about in a future podcast. Monetization.
In all fairness, he didn't hear me. I didn't say it to where he can hear me, which is why I love push to talk when it comes to multiplayer games.
He didn't even say it to his face. I mean, like,
another example
because of that.
Yet another
because
example.
Cancel culture would ban me.
Yes, yet another example of Darktheory being afraid to say something.
Because cancel culture will ban me.
But we can bring up monetization in
Absolutely.
video games in another episode later down the line.
speaking of monetization, go on, plug your shit, and let's get the fuck out of it. Bunch of shield.
Hey guys, check it out. We got a merchandise store. We'll have it linked up to the YouTube. It's some loot for NerdyBernie's channel and loot for Lord_Darktheory. There you go. How's that?
All right.
I just want to throw out there that I am making no profit at all from the Extra Lives Matter stuff.
All the Extra Lives Matters will actually be paid. We are actually either going to do paid to cost, or anything we do make is going to go to a donation to someone out on the homeless that we're going to randomly give out live on stream. Just an FYI.
Yeah, Darktheory is going to actually walk up to a homeless guy and pass him like $50, like something like that. No. There's actually some moral good in this. Like, we're not the judging kind, and we feel like doing this organically. But if he gets stabbed on the stream, I will find that fucking hilarious. I'm not even going to lie.
Hey, you know what? If I get stabbed on stream, I better make at least a few viewers, bro. Like, better be worth it, man.
You know what will happen? I will take the clip because I'm a cheeky
Anything
cunt.
for the club.
I will take the clip and I will upload it to YouTube because I've got like one video privated on YouTube, and then that video will go viral.
That's horrible. That's horrible, guys.
All right, guys.
So mean.
Well,
Now we've insulted the homeless, and now we've insulted our co-host, etc. Plug your shit, guys.
all right, guys. This has been the Extra Lives Matter podcast. I am NerdyBernie. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/NerdyBernie, or Twitter/NerdyBernie.
All right. Lord Darktheory, twitch.tv, Lord_Darktheory, LDARKTHEARY, whatever. Totally misspelled it. Capital L, capital D, Darktheory at Twitter. How about that? Can you fix that in post? Thank you. Okay. Twitch.tv, Lord_Darktheory, capital L, capital D, L Darktheory on Twitter. Check me out on Facebook. You'll have to find out my real name on that one. Good luck with that. I mean, Lawless kind of mentions it every now and then, so it's okay.
It's literally in the
Have
fucking
fun.
Discord,
Lawless.
dude. Anyone can see what your name is. You're a fucking muppet, but I digress. You won't find me streaming anywhere. I have a life. You will find me on Twitter as Blackbeard the Lawless. Don't expect me to respond to you or post anything because I fucking hate Twitter. You will also find me on Discord. Link to our Discord is in the description. I probably won't respond to you, but it's probably because I don't like you. That was it for this week.
1,000 listens to the podcast, and we'll do an AMA with Lawless.
Ask me nothing. Just do an AMA, but like the entire time I'm drunk and I have to lie about everything. Even the most like banal of stuff, I just have to lie about it.
How about this? 5,000 likes, and we get Lawless on camera. Can we do that, Lawless?
It's probably not going to happen.
No.
It's just not productive to quality. Like, my face is out there if anybody gives a shit. It's not like it's a big secret or anything like that. But I actually feel that my identity being restricted is probably more interesting for the podcast.
Fair.
All right, that's it. You cunts have had an extra 5 minutes out of us, and this is probably going to take me an extra 20 minutes of editing. I'm fucking a bit now. Back in 2 weeks. Fuck off.